So to preface on this, there's going to be a lot of opinionated things. There's going to be a lot of factual things that are 100% true. Please don't be going in the comment section screaming at me or other people. I don't quite frankly think many people are going to care what you have to say. However, I hope you learned something, and I hope it just helps. I hope it helps, and I hope you enjoy it. So despite this being like a new player guide or whatever, I have zero intentions on going really in depth on everything, the lore and etc., what the position is, especially since I don't know what this is going to look like come Shadowkeep. I don't know what the new player's experience is going to be like, so it's going to be very vague, I reckon would be the word to say, but detailed enough in order to kind of set you up for success if you are a player that's coming along from Steam, the Steam release, or if you're coming from console. Obviously, I think the console player could skip this part of the guide, but do whatever you want. I really don't care. So I'm going to jump right into this, assuming you put about an hour into the game. Whether that's the Red War campaign or any new experience that Shadowkeep may provide for you, provided you're watching that during this time. And I'm going to talk about weapon slots, and these are very simple. There's nothing very difficult about these. 3 distinctions, that is primary, special, and heavy, and there's 3 slots. That is the kinetic, energy, and heavy slot. Heavy weapons always go into the heavy slot. However, primary and special weapons can be either slot 1 or 2. This does come with the inherent limitation that you can't change weapon slots around. So weapon that you have in slot 1, there's most likely not a variant of that in slot 2. There are some exceptions to this, like year 1 to year 2 weapons got moved from, I believe, the secondary slot or slot number 2, or the energy slot, up to kinetic, and there's like a whole mishmash with this. However, I might sound really stupid saying this going into Shadowkeep, since I'm recording this about 2 months before Shadowkeep's release, so I just want to go on record saying that I'm technically not wrong at this point. So just to give some rapid fire explanations or jargon here, your light level is what you might hear it referred to, item level, power level, it's all the same thing. It is what I would call a baseline modifier on how much damage you take and how much damage you deal, up to a cap. This is not effective in PvP, except for an Iron Banner currently. There might be new playlists that utilize the light level mechanic, however at the current time there are not. So this one has 2 very mixed up phrases. They mean the same thing, but it throws people off. The community will refer to them as milestones, but most in-game text will refer to them as challenges. These are just weekly NPC things usually handed to you, and they usually guarantee you a powerful engram, which is just a weekly reward type thing. All this does is it guarantees an item upgrade drop if the slot itself is not at the hard cap. What is the hard or soft cap? The soft cap is the light level or item level or power level cap at which you stop naturally progressing in light level without powerful rewards. What is a hard cap? A hard cap is the absolute maximum light that you can be in a current DLC or season. And some PvE stuff. What is a major? A major is any enemy with an orange health bar. An ultra is an enemy with a yellow health bar. And bosses and mini-boss are indicated by icons. I think this is probably very convoluted stuff, and I might actually have this wrong, but just to give you a little bit of terminology there. So if it says kill 15 powerful fallen enemies, then that would be anything with an orange bar or higher. So just to skippity bop right into this. Pretending that you are just booting the game up for the first time, this is about what you're going to see. You're going to see a cute little login screen. This will probably say Shadowkeep with some spooky music. You're going to get this limited software license agreement. Feel free to read through it if you want to sue. If you don't, you just want to play, feel free to hit accept. As you see, I'm scrolling through this because I don't want to accept any of these spooky agreements. And I hit the accept button. Cool. So we're just going to pretend I have no characters. This loading screen might take like a couple of years because I haven't booted the game up in like 9 years in garbage PC, I guess. Alright, cool, wow. Destiny 2 PC is moving. You'll get these important Bright Dust information, cool. Next week in Destiny, these are very common things now. They like to keep you up in the news, per se you're a returning player or something like that. So we're going to pretend GamerGuy2869 has no other characters, make a new character. That is Titan Hunter Warlock. This follows the standard MMO style-esque of warrior, rogue, mage that you would tend to find in like D&D situations. Warrior being the Titan, rogue being the hunter, mage being the warlock, but not quite exactly following this at all. It's just very, very, very mimicky. I'm making an Exo here. There's 3 core races in Destiny: humans, Exo, and Awoken. They all do the exact same thing. It just looks different in cutscenes. You usually don't see your character's face because they all look ugly as hell anyways. Continuing on. So starting right off after making your character, your objective is probably going to shift straight towards flying through the campaign. I'm not sure what Shadowkeep new accounts are going to be like. I'm not sure if they're going to give you the level boost that lets you skip the campaign, but I don't recommend skipping the campaign if it's your first time, because this game definitely, I wouldn't say it has a learning curve, I would say it has more of a understanding curve. It's quite a bit different than other FPS on PC. If you want to imagine like League of Legends in an FPS but not bad like other games that I'm not going to name, then that's how I would put it. Besides, it's very good to get caught up on the lore, experience the atmosphere, the music, the enemies, all of it. It's all very phenomenally well done. The user experience is incredible, and I would recommend against skipping the campaigns if you can. So pretending that we've finished the campaign and we're at the DLC's max player level, for Forsaken that is 50 currently. Our objective shifts to building our character's light level or power level to the maximum. Recently, Bungie has added these types of bounties called Power Surge bounties. So if you're looking at this guide in Forsaken and you're like, I don't know what the fuck to do, that would be your first direction. Doing some Google searches will probably yield you good results, since I can't really update a YouTube video. But these will boost you to what is around the natural hard cap of light level. I think currently it is 690, which is a big XD. However, you do these bounties or you do public events or whatever the best way to reach the soft and or hard cap is. Once you've hit the soft cap, your hard cap is going to be hit by doing weekly milestones or challenges, whatever you like to call them. You need to be getting prime engrams or powerful engrams. They are the same thing. Of course, while working towards your goal of endgame light leveling or whatever you want to call it, there's plenty of distractions to do, such as playing in the Crucible, that is the player versus player. Again, there's no light level requirement or anything like this, so you could go in at light level 1 and still pound some ass. So if you ever wanted to experience that, that's always an available option for you. Okay, so maybe PvP is not your favorite thing in the game. Maybe you think it's full of bullshit and you really just don't enjoy it. Then there's plenty of other options, such as triumphs, which are essentially mini achievements that add up to a triumph score, similar to a gamer score or a PlayStation score. I'm not real sure what that's called on PlayStation. And it's something you can use to flex. Unfortunately, the community does a lot of that. Or you can pursue exotic or pinnacle weapon quests, which are just little quests that you follow through a chain of requirements, and you're rewarded with usually a very strong weapon of sorts that can only be acquired through that method. Now, what is a pinnacle weapon? A pinnacle weapon is a weapon or a weapon quest that shows that you've put in time and effort or something like that and received this weapon, and there's usually a step associated with it, and there's a new one for Vanguard, which is PvE, Crucible, PvP, which is whatever, and Gambit, which is PvEVP or cooperative PvP or something like that, competitive co-op. Anyway, usually one each season for each of them, and you can talk to the vendors, which is Lord Shaxx, Zavala, or the Drifter in the tower, and receive these quests. Although I reckon once you're at the point of where you're chasing exotic and pinnacle weapons, I don't feel like you would probably be watching a new player's guide. However, if you're lost and are just wanting to watch this for the shits, there's something you can do. Aside from that, there's really not much other I can go in depth about without kind of ruining the experience, in my opinion, for the new player. So about right here is where I'm going to transition more towards the migrating from console to PC-esque environment. This is still good to watch for new players, since I'm going to get into a little bit more of the more technical aspects of the game. However, feel free to leave if you want. Alright, so if you were avoiding spoilers or whatever, there's going to be quite a few here. If there's not, then cool, but there might be, so I'm just throwing out that fair warning. So you're migrating from console to PC. Obviously, the biggest differences are You're going from what is supposed to be 30 FPS, but it's more like 21, to 60 plus, up to, potentially up to 240 FPS if your computer and your refresh rate, etc., support that type of thing. Aside from that, mouse and keyboard as the input method with controller is optional, which, if you prefer controller, that's entirely okay. I have plenty of friends who prefer to play controller. Sure, they get shit from the community, but in reality, it's not that big of a difference, not a huge deal. A lot of people are very skittish, I guess would be the word to use, about jumping platforms and, learning this new input method. But I have to be honest, mouse and keyboard is so handed to you on Destiny, unlike other FPS games. So there's really no reason to not learn it if you have an interest. I promise, there's a reason why everyone who comes from console is like, yo, I picked up mouse and keyboard in a week, I'm so cracked. There's a reason for that. It's because the game it just hands shit to you. The game is very simplified, it's very broken down and meant to be easy to pick up for the the returning or new user. That's part of the power fantasy thing, and I don't think I need to elaborate any more on this. So just to throw some refutation out there, that maybe I have offended someone or upset someone, or they think they're the best Destiny player ever, which is okay, you're entitled to your own ego, I don't care. To throw some facts out there, there is bullet magnetism, and what this means, and it's very visible if you slow down gameplay clips, etc., whatever, you will see that even on mouse and keyboard, your bullets will curve towards a player. And it is believed by the community that the range and aim assistance stats on guns have something to do with this. However, that's open to interpretation. This is just experience and testing and all that kind of stuff talking at this point, and this really has nothing to do with the video, so I'm going to move on from it. Alright, so I did a video on this, and it wasn't that bad, and so I'm doing this more of a live commentary-esque thing. Sorry if you hear the mouse clicks, there's nothing I can do about it. I'm recording on an actual studio mic. Sorry again. I'm going to jump right into the video settings since there's a lot more control with the PC release. VRM usage, this is how much usage your graphics card has. Unless it's full, don't worry about it. Play on full screen. I don't play on windowed, borderless, or windowed full screen, mainly because, as I explained before, you will get input delay. This is due to something called vertical sync, which is VSync on the Windows Test Hub. You can do Googles on this. I don't feel like getting into it in this video because it's not important right now. Resolution is whatever you want it to be. I prefer to play on 1080p, not 720p or whatever. Play on whatever you want. 1080p is what the standard is. You can play on 4K if you like. Again, it really doesn't make a difference. It's just going to be more taxing on your computer. VSync, I generally keep this off. Some people prefer it on. I believe on PC games and just in general, it will add severe input delay, so I prefer to keep it off. Frame rate cap, I usually keep it on even if I'm not sitting at 75 FPS, because if you are pulling 300 frames or you're really taxing your GPU, you can shorten your GPU's lifespan by quite a bit, and nobody wants to spend another $500 on a graphics card from Destiny burning it out. Field of view is entirely preference based. I play on 100, I have friends that play on 105. Play around with it, find out what you like. I would suggest going above 90 for Destiny though. Screen bounds, again, just affects the HUD elements, and that is where your ammo is, your super bar, that type of thing. And I'll show you an example of what it looks like when they're scrunched in. As you can see, my super, grenade, weapon, ammo, all that kind of stuff is it's closer to the middle of the screen. This is actually an old Battlefield trick that some people used to do, so they didn't have to look quite near the edge of their monitor. But yeah, you can just stretch that, and I'll show you what that looks like again, much closer to the edges. Moving on. Sorry about the keyboard clicks. Brightness is entirely up to you. I like to keep it a little bit higher than what you would consider to be normal. This is again monitor by monitor, case by case basis. This is entirely up to you. Graphics quality, I keep it on custom, low, high, whatever the fuck. You can play whatever you want. This is what I use and why I use it. Anti-aliasing goes off because it can be very taxing, and it's proven that higher video settings do cause a little bit of input delay. How much it is debatable, and there's quite a bit of fiasco going on with that right now, but that's entirely different. So my objective is to make as little distractions as I can as a PvP player. That means screen space ambient occlusion is off. I don't want that weird light bright, My Little Pony shit in my face. I just want to see the target and shoot the target. Texture anisotropy, I keep that pretty damn low because I don't care how the textures look. If I can tell that it's an enemy, I'm just going to shoot at it. But the 2x makes it a little bit nice. Maybe I see like an elbow around the corner. I don't want to be full blur mode. Texture quality will be low, of course. Shadow quality, I should have this up a little bit more. I do have it on low so it doesn't render because, shadows are very expensive in terms of computation, etc. So I keep it on low, not lowest, just low enough to where I can see a shadow. Maybe there's a light behind the guy and I can see him around the corner and he's crouching off the radar. I know that, oh hey, there's a guy there, I see a shadow, let's throw a nade in and shoddy ape or something. Depth of field, again, if you've ever, point your finger at the wall and you look at your finger, it gets blurry, and you look at the wall, your finger gets blurry, that's depth of field. I keep that off because it's stupid. Environment detail distance, low. Again, it doesn't matter if I can see an enemies in the background or something, that's all that matters. Character detail distance and foliage detail distance, I would rather be able to turn foliage off, but I don't think that's allowed, so character detail distance goes on low, foliage on low. Foliage shadows distance, you keep this on medium, because I don't know what it really does. I guess it means like if there's a tree, how big the shadow is cast, I don't know. Light shafts, again, more annoying crap that I wish I could turn off, but I can't. Motion blur should go off for everybody. How that affects you is when you turn it on, you look around, it blurs. Like if you did it in real life, how you look around, it will kind of fuck with you and you won't be able to snap to targets as easily or whatever. Wind impulse, again, no clue what this does, so I keep it off. Render resolution, I keep this at 100. I know in Overwatch they will drop it to about 90 and it just kind of keeps your FPS stable. I keep it at 100% because if you don't, you get this like mobile looking kind of resolution thing and it just looks silly. HDR is dependent on you. I hate HDR, so I keep it off and my monitor doesn't even support it. Chromatic aberration and film grain, again, the video settings. Chromatic aberration is like this weird shit. I'll show you what it does. If you can see in the my HUD elements, they're like kind of blurred colors. It's almost like that anaglyph 3D shit, and I hate it, so I keep it off. And maybe I'll do a zoom in on that one. And film grain, it's like some Resident Evil film shit. It looks stupid. I hate it. I keep it off. For video settings, I think that's about it. It is it. So we'll go into sound, and I'll go into sound and why I have the sound settings that I do have. My sound effects volume set to 2 because I have very loud headset stuff, whatever. My video settings or window settings and sound and all that, it's all done through Elgato Sound Capture, and that throws things out of whack. I don't want to get into this. I keep music off because, maybe I'm in like a one-on-one or like a 2v1 or 3v1 situation in the competitive playlist and countdown, and I hear a single footstep. Maybe I hear, huh, that one. See, he just did it. That will let me know. Maybe someone's crouching off the radar, or I don't hear it. Maybe I hear it across the map on Vostok. I know that there's one guy there, and I don't have to worry about that. Maybe I'm clutching it up, and I'm aiming down sights. You don't always have your radar when you're aiming down sights, and sometimes that music can fuck with you really badly, for me at least. So I keep it off. The music is beautiful in this game, I just don't want to hear it. Dialogue and cinematics and sound effects are up to you. Sound effects is obviously how about things like gunshots, grenades, footsteps, sound, that kind of sound. Dialogue and cinematics are obviously your cutscenes and Hawthorne screaming at you, "Don't leave the door open if you don't want me coming in," that type of shit. I keep it on for comedic effect because it's funny. Chat volume is so you don't have little kids on their like $2 headset screaming like, "Hey dude, can you invite me to the party?" Like that type of shit. Mute when not focused is just whenever you're tapped out of the game, it mutes it. This is a more modern feature that you see in a lot of games. I keep voice chat off because I don't want kids coming into my lobby screaming the N-word while I'm streaming, because that happens still for some reason, and the rest of this is entirely up to you. Gameplay. Reticle location, I keep it on PC default. If you have it on console default, I understand why you'd like that, but I hate that shit. Reticle color is also another big PC change. I like to keep it green since green contrasts with everything in the game. If you have it to red, the red kind of blends in with stuff, and I'll show you what that looks like. If you're like moving around, you can kind of lose track of that, and it's not really my kind of thing. Helmet always on because my character looks ugly as hell. Invite notifications just shows whenever someone invites you. It's got like a blue banner where my mouse cursor is. Invite notifications. Show real names. I keep that off because I'm streaming. And if if someone did share the real name with me on accident on battle.net or Steam, I think these features will go off. I think they'll go away when Steam comes around, but I'm not sure. FPS display, always keep that on because I like to see how much frames I'm getting, so I know when I have that complaint available. Text chat, I keep that on. You can set this to no audio, so it doesn't make that beep sound. You can set it to no notifications, and you can just turn it off in general. Maybe you're a parent who doesn't want their kid, talking to people online. This is good for you. Profanity filter just makes it so it does that cartoony like effects whenever you type the F word in the chat, like that type of thing. Going back onto this. Auto hide makes it so the chat automatically hides on its own. You can set this to a key. I have it set to T. My background opacity is medium. That's just because I like it at medium. Some people like it at full. Some people, whatever. This is just the what's it called? The text chat. So you could just like set this to low if you really wanted. I don't care about it. Whisper chat, I have it set to everyone. You might want to set this to friends, fire team, and clan. All it does is stop people from whispering you and calling you a bitch boy whenever you kill them out of their super or something. Local chat and clan chat are up to you. Clan chat is obviously pretty cool and a much requested feature, so I think most people have that on. HUD opacity stays at full because I like to look over at my stuff. Some people like it on low for the environmental effect. I keep colorblind mode off because this tends to change colors around and blur things, and I just, no thank you, I don't want it. And subtitles are on because I like to read Hawthorne telling that she's gonna come in if I leave my door open. And that's really it. Gonna go into controls now. My look sensitivity is 4 and my EDS sensitivity modifier is 0.9. You don't really get much finesse control with this. It's single digits. I don't like that you don't get a decimal, but you get a decimal here. I think that's kind of bullshit. But the best way that I can tell you to go about this is however far you want to be doing a 360. So for me, it's like to the edge of my keyboard to the edge of the mouse pad. That's about a 360 for me. That's a good frame of reference. That's about how much I want to, be turning my mouse whenever I want to do a 360. And I'll go into this later, but that's a good frame of reference is how far do you want to move the mouse to do a 360? Set your sensitivity to that and possibly -1. Your ADS sensitivity modifier is entirely up to you. I know Cami, Cakes, and Drewski like to have it at 1.0 because it's 1-to-1 with their sensitivity. I like it at 0.9 since you want to feel that natural weight whenever you're playing an FPS game and you aim down sights. There's always that natural slowing down. I like that type of thing. Inversion goes off. Aim smoothing goes off. This is the worst feature to ever be invented in a game. You don't want aim smoothing. It's not only input delay, but it's not a 1-to-1 mouse movement. So that means if I aim from here to here, it might slow it down and stop it here instead of here or here where it needs to be stopping. My voice is giving out here. I'm going to try and speed this along. Controller, again, if you play controller, you probably want to move your sensitivity up a little bit from console because there are mouse and keyboard players who are going to be snapping around and doing wild shit like that. Sorry about the keyboard. But yeah, that's really it. Wait. Okay. So, key mapping. I set it to account. This is probably going to go somewhere. I don't know. Move forward. WASD. That's your standard. G. Highlight player is literally never moved. Emotes. Again, I have on the arrow key and the tilde key back when you could emote and use your sit emote. And it didn't print in the chat if people were doing that, and you could tell it was just this big scum fest, and it was just accessible, so I never had to take my fingers off the WASD. Push to talk, again, goes off. I have voice chat disabled. Return to orbit, again, the most accessible thing. If you're returning to orbit, you probably aren't shooting at people. Take screenshot as print screen. If you do that, it just does this, and it just shows you that it's taking a screenshot. It just takes a screenshot of the screen. It's pretty cool if you want to flex on kids or something. Fire, reload, melee, toggle zoom. So my mouse buttons are pretty much set up default. My reload keys are. That's about what you'd expect. My melee key is on my back mouse button, and my grenade key is on my forward mouse button. This is so that I can be doing various actions and not have to take my hands off the keyboard or anything like that. I can just throw a nade or chuck a melee in there where I need to. Heavy attack, light attack are about what you'd expect with a sword. Block is C, since no one really blocks with swords. Jumping is spacebar. I use toggle sprint because hold sprint is just, I'm too tired to do that. I'm too lazy. I use hold crouch though, since I'm not really crouching very much. My class ability is V, so I never actually have to take my hand off the spacebar. I can just hit it with the top of my thumb. My air move is X, and I've explained this once before, and I'll probably show the little picture that has the MS Paint finger on it, on how I use that. Interact is E, because I have the fingers and hands and dexterity to be able to use E while I'm moving around and strafing, and I've got that mentally down. My super is F3. It's so I don't accidentally hit the default button, which was Q, so I've moved it to F3, so I don't accidentally pop my super at like the worst possible time. Switching to weapons, I use the number keys personally, not the scroll, because scrolling is just, it's slow and it's just not good. It doesn't give you the one-to-one control. Vehicle stuff doesn't matter, and all this stuff is just like entirely opinionated, really. And that really breaks it down for control stuff. Like, that's about all I can get into. I think I would jump into, I guess, understanding mouse sensitivity and stuff like that. So it's going to give a pretty decent crash course on controller versus mouse and keyboard aiming. So in my experience using controller, the basis is lining up your shot with your strafe, doing that, using that as like your larger movements, and your right control stick or your left control stick if you play on southpaw has your like very fine adjustments to line up your shot, your headshot, whatever. Now the same can be said similarly enough to PC or mouse and keyboard. However, there are a few differences. One of the major differences being that tracking is a lot more viable with a mouse and keyboard because you can snap to a target and just follow their head flawlessly. And in all honesty, playing mouse and keyboard, you have no excuse to not hit 100% of your shots because there's no such thing as red reticle distance or aim friction requirement or anything like that with a mouse and keyboard. Now, do I expect myself or anyone else to hit all of their shots all the time in all circumstances? Fuck no, that's stupid and that's unrealistic. However, I'm just saying, you are not in the realm of okayness to ego a controller unless the controller or anything like that has red reticle distance or aim friction 100% of the time, which in all honesty, let's be real, they really don't. And even if we took these things out of account, you would still have much faster gameplay accessible to you because you can turn on a dime and other things like that. So, on PC and mouse and keyboard, we generally have two different types of aimers, if you will. There's arm aimers and there's wrist aimers. Inherently, arm aimers tend to use lower sensitivities and wrist aimers tend to use higher. Usually you are in 100% reign to make fun of people who use their wrist for aiming because lol, enjoy the carpal tunnel kid, XD. But in all seriousness, arm aimer does give you a little bit more room for precision since your sensitivity is lower and your arm is a much more, I would say, fine motor tool, I guess. This could be actually entirely wrong, but I'm not going to get into it. Although the majority of the best players do use a hybrid of very large motions, so this would be your left stick with your arm and your right stick with your wrist, for those of you who are, I don't want to say this, but transitioning. Now, of course, this isn't the most pretty display of accuracy I've ever had. I've had the air conditioner off to record dialogue for this video for the past 3 hours. It's hot, I'm sticky, but I'm not going to John here. You get the understanding. I showed a decent example of wrist versus arm, so that should give you a good frame of reference. You generally want a lower sensitivity though. If you can do one 360 on your mouse pad that you have or whatever, and your preferred, and it feels comfortable, that's a very fair sensitivity to go with. In terms of other parting statements on this part of the video, I don't really have anything to say other than play what's comfortable to you. It's not worth getting an injury of some sort or playing very uncomfortably over Destiny 2. It's a very casual game. And you can definitely use Destiny 2 to, I guess, propel yourself in getting prepared to play other, PC games. It's a very diverse platform. Exclusivity pretty much doesn't exist if you hold for, like, platform exclusivity like Steam, Epic, Bethesda, like that type of stupid shit. I'm pretty garbage at closing out these videos, but I've been recording lines for like 3 or 4 hours now, so I'm just going to make this quick. Expect probably a follow-up video of this on Shadowkeep a couple months after the fact so that I can, I guess, semi-update it, minus the whole learn how to play on a fucking PC, kid, part of this video. I don't really have anything else to say, so I hope you learned. I hope you enjoyed. 420. Never mind. Hey, have a good one, guys.